Now, this is me as a teenager in the 90s. I loved to read. Maybe that's why my classes were so big. Apart from my school books, I enjoyed reading stories on love and marriage. I particularly enjoyed reading the Troubish's books. Mr. and Mrs. Troubish were married counselors who had written several books with lots of true life stories in them. Mommy was late. Daddy wasn't always around. I am the firstborn, and so there was no one to censor what I was reading, and I had access to my parents' library. I also loved reading stories in the Bible. They fascinated me a lot. I believed there were great lessons to be learned from these Bible stories. I read them over and over. You can be sure I read every Bible story that had something to do with love and sex. Among these stories was one that had a great impact on my life and how I viewed sex, and that is the story of Amnon and Tamar. This story is found in 2 Samuel chapter 13. The story is about a beautiful girl called Tamar. Mr. Amnon, her half-brother, was so much in love with her that it made him very sick. He had a very cunning friend named Jonadab. Jonadab came up with an idea. Go to bed and pretend to be ill. Jonadab said, when your father comes to see you, say to him, I would like my sister Tamar to come and give me something to eat. Let her prepare the food in my sight, so I may watch her and then eat it from her hand. The plan worked. Tamar was set up, and she found herself alone with Amnon. Come to bed with me, he said. Tamar resisted and struggled. Alas, she was no match for Amnon. Poor Tamar was raped. Now the strangest thing happens after lovesick Amnon is done with Tamar. Listen to what happens. Then Amnon hated her with intense hatred. In fact, he hated her more than he had loved her. Amnon said to her, get up and get out. What? How did so great a love turn to so great a hatred in just a few minutes? This is one story that made me wiser. It gave me loads of insight about the way of a man with a girl, even if mommy wasn't around to instruct me anymore. In the story of Amnon and Tamar, I learned that sex alone wasn't enough to guarantee undying love in any relationship. I learned that a man madly in love could also turn to a man filled with disgust for the same girl. I learned that there was a huge gulf between love and lust. I also learned that I should not be naive in my dealings with the opposite sex. I learned to be wise as serpent, yet harmless as a dove. I learned that being alone with a boy exposes a girl to the risk of getting raped. Some 20 years have gone by, and I'm happily married with kids. Thank God for stories I read as a teenager. I learned lessons from them that helped me avoid heartbreaking experiences in life. I believe that in every true story, there is a lesson to be learned, and I hope you have learned something from mine.